virtual green room, author Melissa Murgo. Her book is Overcoming 5 Stages of Grief with God. And she joins us here on Author's Corner on America Tonight with me, Kate Delaney. Melissa, boy, that says it all. Overcoming 5 Stages of Grief with God. So tell us what catapulted you, motivated you to do this book.
Hi. First, I just want to say thank you for having me. I decided to write this book as a form of therapy for me when I was facing my grandmother's passing during the pandemic. She had Alzheimer's, and it was at the height of the pandemic when we couldn't be with her. So we were watching her pass from outside a window, and it was pretty traumatic. And so going through that grieving process, and then months later, I was faced with the separation and what would be the divorce in my marriage. So I was really in a difficult emotional time and grieving the losses of, really important things in my life. And so I used this as journaling to help process the healing. And then from there, I decided, let's turn this pain into something beautiful. And I, wrote a book.
And on the cover, it's like you see, of course, the things we talk about, acceptance, denial, anger, all of that. For you, what was the toughest to overcome with the 5 stages?
The anger, probably. By far, the anger was the hardest stage for me. Because number one, I don't like being angry. I'm not an angry person. I try to stay positive. And number two, it was really hard to be around people when you're angry and the way they treat you when you're processing this anger and the emotions of it. And it makes them uncomfortable. And so it's hard. You feel guilt, you feel ashamed, you don't want to be that way, but you have these emotions and people kind of frown upon it and don't warrant, your anger when you're grieving. So that was really the hardest stage for me personally.
Yeah. And dealing with your grandmother's death, dealing with the realization that your marriage was over, and then finding comfort in Scripture. What led you there?
It was really just turning to my faith. When you're hitting rock bottom and you're like, you notice yourself just like asking God and just speaking out, God, what should I do? And so I just really turned to Scripture for whatever emotion I was in at that day and just be like, let me find scriptures in the Bible that relate to how I'm feeling right now. And it helped me. And so the more I did it, the more I noticed that I was feeling better. It was helping me throughout the day. And then the days that I didn't do it, I noticed a big difference. I was like, wow, why does it feel so heavy? Why is it so hard? And I'm like, oh, you know what? I didn't, turn to the Scripture today. So it was just really noticing that the more I let God into every emotion I was having at the time, the better I felt and the faster I felt like I was healing. So that's what this book is pretty much a testament to, trying to, illustrate that for me, bringing God into, every stage really helped me heal and helped me feel better, no matter what emotion I was feeling at the time.
And by putting the book together, was that also cathartic for you to say, oh, I can share this with other people? Because I know everybody goes through this at some point.
Oh, absolutely. It was, one of those things that, I'm looking at all my journal entries and I'm like, you know what, let's turn this into something so we can, help people. Let them realize that they're not alone, that it's okay, to be angry. David was angry and Moses was angry and it's okay. And they were, figures of faith, and God doesn't frown upon you for having these emotions. He made us as humans to have emotions, and so it's okay to feel the way we feel. So I hope that, if anything, this book can help people, relate their emotions to, figures of faith in the Bible, and let them realize that, it's not something to be ashamed of. It's not something that's, going to go away overnight. It's a process, but if you bring God into the grief, it will help you.
Yeah, it's interesting you said shame. Do you think shame's a big part of it, and why people don't also reach out for help? Yeah, depending on, how you're feeling, but definitely with depression being, one of the stages, and sometimes it can be overwhelming, and, people feel ashamed that, I shouldn't feel depressed. I should be grateful, and I shouldn't have these feelings, or I shouldn't, be in denial. I should be living in reality, and, those things can definitely, make you feel shameful. But if you realize that, there's no shame in any of it, God understands it all. He's not angry with you. He's, not ashamed of you. Bring it to him, and you'll realize that, you're not the only one. There are millions of stories out there that, God has brought people through. So if you stay open and you understand that you're not alone, you'll get through. And for you, too, in the middle of this, by the way, raising 3 sons, so it was important,
Three
right?
crazy men, yes. I mean, it was hard. It was, just raising kids today, it's hard. It's hard. Life is hard. So it was one of those things that it's like you, as a mom, you can't just be like, I'm having a bad day, I'm just not going to deal. Like, you just can't do that. So you have to get up. And it's one of those things that, I turn to God again, like, God, give me the strength for today. And, he did. And I'm just so thankful. And I also have a very good support system with my family that I'm able to rely on them. Some people don't have that. But definitely bringing God into my everyday life and into the emotions, it helps, and it will help other people going through the same thing. They're not alone.
And again, the book is Overcoming 5 Stages of Grief with God. We're speaking with Melissa Murgo, and in the book, you have 8 chapters, where you kind of tackle things and build upon, it's like building blocks, where you've got the 5 stages of overcoming grief. And then the last chapter, tell us about that, because I think that's what's so unique and different what you did there.
The last chapter with the scriptures for healing, it was just scriptures that I would print and put all over the house, and just, no matter what I was feeling at the time, I would just read out. And so they're just scriptures that really helped me during the healing process. And so there's just a bunch of scriptures that I decided that, these are the scriptures I turn to. Let me put them in the book, because people can just take them and, and read them at the end when they're having a bad day, or they're feeling like, at the minute, like, I'm going to lose my mind. I have so much stuff going on. How am I going to do all this? But, just taking 2 seconds, to just read a scripture line here and there, it will help you. So that's why I decided to put those in.
Yeah, good way to end that. And the book you can get on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. And you already said this, but what do you hope the takeaway is for anyone who gets your book and reads it?
I hope that it helps them heal. I hope that they understand that, each stage they don't have to be ashamed of, that they need to process it, and that if they bring scripture into their life and realize that, it's okay to feel this way, I will, use the scriptures to, help me heal. And so I'm hoping that, this book can just help people heal during a difficult time.
Yeah. Melissa, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.